tell your listeners to tap along with you. Think about something that's bothering yourself. Just bring the issue to your mind. Think about it. Think how intense it is. Let's say 0 to 10. So you just have a little bit of a reference point. And then also think where it sits in your body. Tap with us and get some healing in.
Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Today, Jennifer and I are going to talk about intergenerational trauma, which is sometimes called transgenerational trauma, but it can be defined as a term that is used to describe the impact of a traumatic experience, not only on one generation, but on subsequent generations after the event. And so to help us in this discussion is Klara Sedlacek, who is an emotional wellness coach and a keynote speaker who helps stressed moms of tots transform tension into connection. She's trauma-informed and a certified EFT practitioner whose approach is rooted in nurturing the now and releasing the past. Klara, thank you very much for joining us today. We're excited to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Klara, what's your story? How'd you get started in this work?
I think I kind of always wanted to do something with myself. Being really young, I think I was like 8 or 9, I started looking for answers to better myself and to reform myself. But this was based on a very early childhood programming when I picked up beliefs that I'm not a good person and I'm a bad child. And so it kind of started as almost like a self-beating, self-reformatory follow-up on what I've been through. But I've kind of been always looking for a little bit more to, do something with myself. And what started kind of like very harsh journey morphed later into, okay, so what can I do with myself? What's available to a person when you're not feeling happy at the moment? And I stumbled across the Dalai Lama and I was like, oh my God, he's so kind, and I think he was like the first time I heard his teaching, and knowing the Tibetan story and knowing what actually happened and still is happening to his people, thinking, okay, so this guy can be so compassionate towards the Chinese, despite all the trauma that's happening. Well, maybe, just maybe, I can be compassionate to myself. But it kind of started, very gently, like I have to be compassionate to everybody, but not me. And then I morphed into, well, maybe me. But interestingly enough, like this wave of kindness and wave of empathy also started kind of re-traumatizing me, because I opened myself back to my family, thinking it's all my fault and I should be more kind and I should be more understanding. And, my mother is, hold on, I'm trying to come up with the word that the Buddhists say about reincarnated, so I started thinking like all the beings are reincarnated, my mother. And so I think the teachings are amazing, but a lot of us can take them too literally and then start kind of beating ourselves down. So I actually went down like this. Now that I'm looking at it in retrospect, that journey was starting to hurt me more, because I lost my personal boundaries, the little that I had, and I kind of went in and I tried to patch everything up without doing any of the work that was necessary. That I kind of tried to work myself through trauma, but not having the tools and not knowing what I'm doing, I kind of felt worse. And I kind of went through a marital crisis with my husband, and we were like, what's going on? Like, why I'm crying on the sofa? And for a whole summer, I cried every day. And we were like, well, maybe tomorrow I'm going to wake up and it's going to be better. And we had no idea, about depression and anxiety. We just kind of tried to pull through. And I was so lucky I had his support, despite, we weren't sure what's happening between us. he would feed me in the morning, feed me when he came back from work, and I just kept crying. And we were like, okay, well, something has to change, like there should. So we tried going to meditations, and that was worse. Like things were just not happening that way. And then I walked into my therapist's office, who someone recommended my therapist, and I said, I had a pretty happy childhood, and I said that I'm there because of my marital issues. But the therapist was so gentle. He was just sitting there looking at me like, okay. And I thought he's going to start asking me questions, but he just sat there. And, at the end of the hour, of course, I was bawling. I was like, oh my God, I did not have a happy childhood. And, all the things that happened to me kind of just like ran through my mind, like that movie you have, like before you die, they say, the near-death experience. It was just, oh, no, all these things came up. So then I got the awareness of things that happened, but I still just kept crying and crying, crying. And then I came across, finally, the EFT tapping modality that helped me from going like super traumatized, scattered brain, to slightly getting my person back and being more calm and being able to process things and talk about things and able to connect the pieces without re-traumatizing myself.
How does EFT actually work for you?
So I think it's the most nurturing and self-accepting tool on earth to me, because you state what's happening and then you end with, I accept myself. So let's say I'm angry right now. So I say, even though I am angry, I feel it in my chest, and it's this like red fiery feeling and I'm about to burst. I accept myself. And while you're saying this statement, you also tap on your acupressure points, which kind of sends the body a message that, you are having a feeling, but you're not in danger. You're good.
Okay.
And then it slowly, through a couple of these repeats, it takes you to the root issue of your emotion or of whatever's happening. And it's such a lovely relationship tool, because whenever you're having a conflict in relationship, any relationship with yourself, partner, child, it's just a great opportunity for you to explore of what's yours, what's theirs, and what's your unhealed thing in this trigger or in this issue that's making you react. So while we are, running around usually in this world crazy, and we are taught to mask our emotions or not show them, this actually like gives you a very gentle tool to just state it and feel okay and say, hey, I am having an emotion, this emotion, but I am here. I'm accepting myself, even though I have this emotion. And when it comes to parenting, that is what we want as children. Children want from their parents, like, look, I have this emotion, please accept me, and don't question it if it's a mild or a severe reaction to something that you might not understand. So the same way you are kind of coming to yourself and being like, okay, well, maybe I don't understand while I'm being triggered right now, but I still accept myself, even though I am having this emotion. And I find this is a discourse between what's happening right now with the mindfulness movement, when you are kind of like, you should be in the now, you should not have, these anger feelings, you should be peaceful, you should be calm. It's hard for people. We are emotional beings, we are alive, we have our life, previous experiences that are making us react. So when you just start there, meet yourself where you are and just state where you are, and then let the process unravel, it will guide you towards that one unhealed thing that's causing this. And then you don't have to beat yourself up for, I remember sitting through those meditations and being like, be more peaceful, sitting for hours, my legs and back, like, cramped in a pretzel. I'm like, oh my God, I hate this so much, but 20 more hours or a retreat in a cave for 5 years and I'm gonna be fixed,
I'm gonna be fixed if I can just do this right.
Right.
Why did you decide to focus your work on toddlers?
I think I initially started working with parents who had children with ADHD
Oh,
10 years ago. I've always wanted to work with parents. For some reason, that connection with children and parents has always been there. And then I, started raising my own tot, and I'm like, this is a great time to restart. My child is a blank, not a blank slate, but she is blank slate from society's training, from early childhood programming.
Right.
She's showing me how things should and could be. And it's up on me to learn from her and to restart my life.
that's
Because
amazing.
I heard a song, and the lyrics, it's from Youth Patrol, Snow Patrol, sorry.
Snow
and it
Patrol.
says- Snow Patrol,
Yeah.
and says,
Yeah.
the chasing car songs, and it says, forget what we are told before we get too old.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it just resonates with me so much. And it says, show me a garden that's bursting into a life.
Mhm.
And I think that's what children, especially tots, do. Like, they show you the light in every situation in the world. Even just a walk with them outside, they just open your eyes, they open your heart. And if you let yourself be, receptive and fall on your butt and get your butt kicked from them, sometimes, only in the emotional sense,
Yeah.
you will learn, and you can restart, and you can just live your life in a very different way than you were taught to.
So it sounds like EFT helps you build self-compassion,
Yes.
right? So not just compassion for other people, but for yourself as well, right?
100%. I think it takes you to the root of compassion, because I
Okay.
think when we cannot be compassionate is because we are, hurt people inside, and hurt people, the old saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the lack of compassion is just being too hurt and not being able to look inside, because usually we are so preoccupied with everybody else, especially as parents. You give, and then you neglect
Right.
yourself.
Can little kids use EFT?
Yes, we use it. So as soon as you can pretty much talk, you can use tapping. And what we do with my daughter is that we use puppets. And instead of saying that she has a problem, we act out a little play, and we have two puppets, and one is having the problem and the other puppet is helping. And we say, well, even though Kitty, we had this moment when, we had lots of sharing issues, and we were expecting a play date, and we were talking about it, and we said, Kitty, cat, what's happening for you? And we started eliciting all these like crazy situations, like, oh, she's gonna take my toy, and she's gonna burn the toy, and she's gonna throw it out of the balcony. And we just had fun with it, and we just kept saying all these things about the fear of sharing toys. And at the end of each statement, we said, but I'm okay, even though I don't want to share my toys because I'm afraid, I'm okay. And we kept saying that, and we kept, playing with it, and we had an amazing play date. And I know it's just, anecdotal evidence, but I totally believe children can start learning emotional awareness and regulation with that, but not in a way that just shut the door and breathe with a rock on their belly, but they actually start the self-accepting piece very early on.
That's so amazing, because a lot of people talked about in the past about switching kind of from punitive parenting, and then they did this parenting where it was all about putting kids in a timeout. And now we're realizing that timeouts are actually like small forms of abandonment for kids, where they're like, your parent is saying, I didn't like your behavior, so you have to go away, and you can only be around me when you're doing behavior that's acceptable. And now it sounds like you're moving a step to more enlightened or conscious parenting, where you're saying, yes, you have your feelings, let's talk about them, and then let's learn some ways that society will kind of accept these feelings, but we can't act out on them. It just sounds like a way of telling the child their emotions are okay. It's okay to
Yeah,
be scared
yeah,
that your
Mhm.
friend is going to take your
right.
toy. Let's
Yeah.
talk about it before it happens.
There is a lot of movement towards toddler autonomy, I would say. And
Mhm.
right now it's people are starting to talk with great books written about sharing, but that, you know, sharing is not caring. It's not okay to tell our toddlers to share. It's not okay to force them to share.
And take their things.
Yeah, like imagine someone came
Mhm.
to you while you're having a podcast and just took the lamb
Yep.
because
Yeah.
they would say, oh, it's my time to play, or let's take turns and just take it away from you. But we expect them with way less of emotional resiliency and emotional, you know, self-regulation skills, but we accept them to be able to do that. When we sleep train, we expect little infants to self-regulate. So we are putting on
hate
them
that.
so much of our societal pressure and expectations that are just wrong and completely wrong towards their biological wiring and biological readiness and biological age. But then, you know, if we, as you were talking about the timeouts, like I think all the conscious movement is towards time ins. Like it's okay,
Mhm.
you are having a moment, come to me and I will hold the space for you.
Right.
Yes.
But
That's
it
the
comes
answer.
to, you know, comes to you as a mom, how much you trust yourself. And we don't trust ourselves. We've been told for centuries that we cannot do it ourselves. We've had doctors kind of take the birthrights from women, and we've had doctors, you know, pushing out the doulas and just stepping in with the hospital models and telling us what we can feed our children and that we cannot give them this, but we should give them this formula. So it's been a mess for women, and through the process of sitting on the sidelines, we lost the, you know, trust in us as mammals to be able to take care of our mammalian children. Because if you take away the breastfeeding and all that, then who are we, you know? Are we just like bottle handlers?
It's so interesting that we're talking about all this. Jennifer has 2 daughters. I don't have children. I specifically chose not to for a whole host of reasons, partly due to relationships with my own parents. I love my mom. My mom's a great woman. I love my mom. My dad, different story. Part of my decision to not have kids is due to them. When you guys were just now talking about using timeout and how that was seen as maybe as like a mini abandonment for children, that brought up so much for me, literally in this moment while we're talking about this, because my mom didn't spank me and my brother ever, but she lectured because she was a professor. So she would just explain why what we did was bad, blah, 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 blah. I distinctly remember she would make us sit in our room and think about what we'd done and then come out. Literally, it's just occurring to me in this moment, holy crap, that I didn't learn how to talk through those feelings with my mom. And I still literally to this day, I'm a 53-year-old woman. I don't go to my mom to talk through my feelings, partly I'm sure because of that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't learn that in the home. I didn't learn that as a child. And so thank God for therapy that now I'm better at talking through my feelings. Oh, okay. Sorry. I literally just experienced all of that in that moment. So thank you, Klara. You have now helped me.
You had your, you know, aha. You know,
So,
and if your
wow.
parents would follow your lead as a toddler, toddlers show you exactly where they are. They show you they are angry, they show you what they are feeling. So we can learn from them to express those feelings, and we can do that for ourselves. And then when you feel confident you can do it for you, then you can help your child safely, you know, express their feelings. What I've been telling moms, it's heart first, brain second. Take care of your and your child's heart. Create a little cocoon of love, and acceptance, even though it's super hard to, sit through an intense tantrum, but it's still, you can be compassionate for yourself and prepare for that and have, practice that feeling of, okay, this is my child's space and nobody enters here. This is us two going through this together, and not let in-laws or people in the grocery store step in. This is your sacred space. This space is so sacred that it's more holy than the whole Vatican, because this is where you learn, where the children pick up the beliefs about themselves, and then they end up, being 53 and still learning about their past hurts. So this is where you build that connection. And I think the reason why I do what I do is because with my mom, she obviously did not have any capacity for this because of the trauma her parents went through. Our grandparents or parents don't have to be a World War survivors, but society, poverty, social economic stresses, they all put traumatized families in a similar manner. Mental health issues, we are kind of brought into that, and then all these little traumas, they disconnect us from each other. They disconnect us from our parents, and the disconnection between my mom and myself grew to such proportions that when I was a teen, I attempted suicide. And the saddest thing is that she never found out. She found out when I told her while I was doing the therapy, which, I told her 15 years later. And she didn't even, she was like, oh, really? Wow, I thought you had a happy childhood. And she kind of just, had that repeat of unable to connect with herself. But I think what happens to a lot of children is that they have the low moment and they don't know who to come to. And I am trying to start early with moms so they don't shut the door. They don't do those micro abandonments that then accumulate into bigger disconnections, and they can just truly believe themselves and truly parent from the heart. But you have to do your work, open that heart up so you can connect heart to heart. Your child is ready to connect, but it's usually us who are blocked from the programming and things we went through and the society generational buildup of crust that you guys are working towards of removing. So thank you for this podcast so much.
Oh, thank you. You talked briefly about the mom not trusting themselves. How do you feel like the mom's low self-esteem contributes to the issue, and what are some solutions?
Can you rephrase that, to the issue of not trusting themselves?
Not trusting herself, yeah.
It's almost the same. Low self-esteem and not trusting yourself is, to me, very similar when it comes to being a mom. Stop trusting your child. You don't trust the world. You don't trust the society. And then you just become fearful. Fearful you cannot do it yourself. And you start looking for solutions that might not be in line with what you feel. But you might think, well, it doesn't feel right, but I don't want to do anything wrong. I want to make sure my child grows up well. And then maybe you just take a path that you wouldn't have taken if you would just trust yourself. And it happened to me, when my child was born, I was pretty strict on I have a science background. So I'm she will sleep outside our bed just to make sure she's safe. But then she would not sleep, and she only wanted to sleep on me. And, we breastfed, and it was just a nightmare. And I started to intuitively feel that she should be actually sleeping next to me. All the sit scare websites and everything is just you are a crazy person if you do that. And then I stumbled across Professor McKenna Sleeping Lab, Dr. McKenna Sleeping Lab websites and everything. I was like, oh, wow, someone's actually recommending this if you follow these safe sleep patterns. But initially, I would have just put her in the bassinet and let her cry, not sleep train, but not listen to her needs, because I thought it's better for her to be away from me, because the science, research, and the doctors were telling me. I didn't admit it to our own doctor, pediatrician, that she's sleeping with me. And I lied on the when she was
Yeah.
asking about it,
Because
because
the doctors are wrong.
yeah.
They're
Well,
wrong.
the doctors, are slightly also disconnected from what doctorship is should be, It's not their fault.
Exactly.
They are trained that way. So we forgot truly who we are. And I don't know how long ago this happened, but as people, we used to know what we are doing. We used to be afraid of the unknown, but we used to trust ourselves. We had to depend on ourselves to survive. But now we are just kind of more in the herd mentality and just being kind of bounced from side to side.
You have all the
Yeah.
baby doctor experts,
Yeah,
so you're supposed
yeah.
to follow them. It's the
Yeah.
rise of the expert makes us doubt ourselves.
I want to add to that, though. I think it's more than just the rise of the expert. It's the rise of the male expert.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, good point.
we had doulas, we had more of a matrilineal trust system where we would go to our elders in general, male and female. We would go to the elders, we would go to the medicine women, we would go to the doulas, we would go to all these people who knew these things. But then as systems rose and men became, men put themselves in power, doulas were pushed out. So we stepped away from that, right? And I think this connects to the intergenerational trauma as well, because it did start generations ago. It just sort of snowballed and continued. And I think now that we're at a position where we're starting to realize this, because our parents did the best they could with what they had and with what they knew. Going back to me, my mom thought she was doing, she did the best she thought she could, right? With, oh, I'm not spanking my children, so I'm being more gentle in the way that I raise my children. Each generation learns more than the one, or differently than the one before it. Is that how we start to break or heal some of the intergenerational trauma?
It's a great way you are kind of describing it, because it does not take one. It takes all of us to kind of push the cart together and help each other along the way. And I feel without the tapping, I would be somewhere else, but someone else came up with the tapping, and someone else told me about it, and someone else trained me, and someone else showed me how it works. So, and that work has been done, 50 years ago. So we kind of follow each other towards the light. We try to carry each other and help each other. Like you were talking about the expert. I think every person is an expert on their own life and on their own relationship with their family.
Agreed.
But it takes a while to own it.
Yes.
Think about female doctors, like, I don't know exactly, but it was like the 1800s, something late 1800s, when we had the first like female doctors. So, we were talking about the male and female. So yeah, think about that, what was possible for females throughout history. And of course there were Cleopatra and queens and a couple of historical figures, but we were always kind of on the sidelines as the people who didn't know, and men were responsible for our feelings and for our marital affairs, and they are still responsible in some countries around the world.
True.
They have, females cannot go shopping, cannot drive. So I think it's just show us how the world is slightly moving towards healing, even in those areas. But it takes all of us to push the cart. And as you said, like, our parents did the best they could. Like, if they could do better, they would. Like, nobody drinks because he wants to be a drunk, angry person. People have deep pain that's causing the behavior, but our world just ignores that, and we label.
We do.
We just stick with the labels, and we move on, and talking about why people do things, talking about the unhealed things under that behavior. Like, we could have podcast that would probably last for a century if we talked about some of our US presidents and why they did
Agreed.
it and what's under their decision. And when you look at the latest, the most talked president ever, his child was a mess.
Yes.
I've always thought that he just behaves like a wounded boy.
Exactly. And I think
Very.
I heard a psychiatrist psychologist who was talking about it. He said, what we need as children, we need our emotions validated.
Yes.
And I think through centuries, we females did not have our feelings validated by males.
Ever.
Right? We were just kind of generalized into the image of what females should be, and whoever didn't fit in was like, yeah, whatever. She's a witch. Talking about
exactly.
Let's burn them.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So I think the emotional validation is really hard for us as human beings to validate each other and validate gender and validate race and validate individuality. I think the psychologist was talking about children need their feelings validated. And if they don't, they're not going to develop emotionally, but they're going to develop coping behavior. And the emotional development usually stops around like 6 or 7. And then they just cope and put layers and layers and layers of protection.
And the coping could be the alcoholism, could be the workaholism, could be all these things we do to like self-soothe these emotions that we don't know how to deal with.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
That's why the question I asked you, why I work with toddlers, that's why it's so important. So important.
It's the most important, so maternal stress influences fetuses and babies.
Oh no.
So we should start when we are 20 so we don't get stressed when we have babies, okay? But besides the shoots, like the toddlerhood is such a live period when you kind of get an instant feedback of what's working for you and what's not working for you. And if you cannot validate your child's feelings, it's not your fault. It's just you're disconnected in some level of that life. Something's triggering you in that. But it doesn't mean you are a bad mom. It's just you are a hurt mom. That's all.
If a mom or a dad, I'm assuming, if any parent is listening to this and they think, wow, I could really use some help with my toddler, and say they come to you for help, what does that look like for them, like say in an appointment with you?
It's really, really simple. You don't have to, I don't have to talk. I don't have to take your family family tree 50 years back. We just say, okay, what's bothering you? And you say, all right, well, my child is taking too long to get out from the house. And I say, okay,
every day,
right? And tell me what you feel. And we start with the anger. And I'll, give you an example. And we go within 30 minutes, we are under the anger. It's actually helplessness from when his own father was yelling at him when he was a child, and we work through that, and then we actually work through why the anger was coming in the family in the first place. And turns out the father had massive issues during the war. They had to live in the woods because the army was going through and wasn't able to express what he was feeling, so he bottled everything up. And then he was explosive with his own son, and then I'm dealing with this client who's actually having the same helplessness feelings, but his child is bringing that up. So instead of him trying to sit and meditate on the anger, we actually looked what's under the anger, dealt with that, and took us about 45 minutes.
So then do they learn skills or practices that they can then take?
I would say it's
help that situation?
two-way street. So for day to day and for like little things, you can, I use it like I'm in the shower and I'm thinking, I'm talking, I'm tapping, it's such a process now in our family. My husband went through the training too, so we are both just kind of helping each other understand, like we are still human, we still get triggered. It's a normal family. This is not like It's still like a Dalai Lama house. This is a normal house. I still give him sometimes a silent treatment because I cannot express my emotions. And when we talk about it, when I can talk about it later, what actually happened to me, it happened last week. I was tapping on it. I was looking for, what's under it. And it came up to me that every time when I was a child and I expressed how I feel, and, obviously that I didn't like something, I was slapped.
Oh, wow.
Or, physically or emotionally punished. And I'm still afraid now, that quick reaction, that quick impulse when I go silent is because I'm still micro afraid that I'm gonna get punished.
Yes.
Luckily I have a chance to look into it, but I used to like silent treat him for the whole weekend because my emotions just kept snowballing and I had no idea I could just talk about it. I had no idea that's an option.
Well, it wasn't safe for you at that point.
No. And I did not learn that from my mother. And if I didn't go through the healing crisis, I would not be able to teach that my daughter. And then she would have troubles expressing herself and she would not know how to say no. And, when we talk about the strong daughters of strong mothers, that you have to teach them to say an assertive no, but they have to see you do it.
Right. A story that Jennifer tells that actually I think is a really good example of what you're talking about is, Jennifer, when you talked about when your youngest daughter was really small and she was really upset, she would be experiencing big emotions.
Oh, yeah.
And you would just sit down and you would talk to her and just say, tell me what you need.
Oh, well, it was more than that because she would throw temper tantrums that were like rage filled. She would fall on the ground. And the only thing that I ever learned that worked is I had to completely stop whatever I was doing. I could not multitask. I had to sit her on my lap, face to face, look at her and say, what is it you need? What is going on? And in the beginning, she would go, and I couldn't hear her. And I'd say, what do you need? What do you need? And eventually she would start to tell me what she needed. And her voice would get a little bit louder and a little bit more. But that was a process. Now she's a teenager. Every time she's able to tell me what she needs, I'm like, yes, we did it.
That is so cool.
We did it. Because it's such an amazing thing. In my own therapy, I realized that I was the family people pleaser. I would do anything to make the family happy. So I didn't have any needs. I didn't care what restaurant we went to. I didn't care what we ate for dinner. I didn't care where we slept. I didn't care. No needs. Everyone else's come first.
You're the easygoing one. You'll do what everybody else wants.
Come to find out, I'm not that easygoing, but that was the role I was playing, right? There's a lot of that intergenerational trauma is so interesting. And what I want to be as an adult is I want to make decisions based on now, not something that happened to me as a kid that I'm not understanding.
Yeah, or you don't even know that it's
exactly
a decision based on that. And, for us adults, it just takes never-ending curiosity.
Yes.
And never-ending self-acceptance. If you can do it, just knowing that everything you're going through is based on something you went through. We moms
or someone in your family went through.
Yeah. Like there's a book that's called It Did Not Start With You. The song, is it Billy Joel, the We Didn't Start the Fire?
Yeah,
it was always burning. Like, that concept of it didn't even start with our families. Like, it's just I don't know why, but I was reading for a long time on how we got out of Africa, like the humanity and where we went after and how we took what we did that we, spread out the world. And like we carry genetic markers from that age of what happened to humanity. And we talk about the fight or flight and all that. That's what we inherited from our ancestors a million years ago. We'd be talking about just my grandparents and what I got from their stories they had a story and the story before. So we are just part of the story. But I think what we are trying to do is to start writing the story, as you said, based on now and not on something that happened before.
Yes. Making a decision because it's what we truly want, not because it's a protection mechanism that we created as a child.
It takes a personal approach and a social approach. And as you guys, I'm sure you're happy about the Me Too movements and things that we finally have a voice, and not that much, but it's starting to pick up much more. But I think, as Jennifer, you shared the story, that voice, the permission to have the voice starts with the moms telling their daughters, tell me what you need.
Yeah.
I want to hear what you need. We had the same thing happening just yesterday, leaving the house. She just, fell on the ground on the way to the lift. I just, as you said, I went down on my knees, I sat down on the floor, and I said, because she started running, she thought I'm going to start chase her and like prevent her from doing what she wanted. I said, let's just talk about what we need. I want to hear what you need, and I'm going to tell you what I need. And then she kind of stopped crying. She came to me and we, exchanged. It was obviously more about what she needed because but to give them the permission to just, it's a partnership. It's not like we have to make decisions for them. They know what they want, and we can just navigate and help them navigate through their needs to make sure they are not jumping from the balcony because they want to try to jump out. That's
right.
But I think it's about also showing them that we have needs, so they can then see that, oh, my mom was voicing her needs. I am very early on that I need to rest. When we get home, I need to sit down, and it's a very inclusive space. Like, she sits next to me and looks through her books or plays with her toy. But I say, Mom needs space, and you can sit here. And that's something I've never heard from my parents. My friends never heard that from their moms, just that they always just clean, grocery shop, and just work.
Yes.
So it kind of takes conscious decision to be, okay, I'm not going to teach, but I'm going to show you how things can be done. Like, I don't think we as parents can teach anything, like seriously, zero. They will learn how to count and do schoolwork at school, but they only observe, they mimic. So if we want to teach them to be compassionate, then we have to be compassionate ourselves. If we want to teach them how to, have needs, then we have to show them how we can have needs ourselves and how we deal with our emotions so they can deal with their emotions. But there's so many books on emotional resiliency and how to raise, when we focus so much from like how to kids, but it's all just us and how they view us in the world. That's all they learn.
You talk specifically on, at least on your website, you mentioned toddlers. If somebody who has older kids is coming to this and maybe they're having an issue with a teenager or maybe a tween, and they're like, well, my kid's way beyond toddler, and am I just shit out of luck? Like, is there help for me? Or
there's help at any level. When you start asking those questions, that's like a step one of help.
Okay.
When you start looking into your relationship with that teen and you're like, maybe something's not gelling here, you can get answers at any level. Even when you've already, parented and your children are old, you can still get on it and start listening to their needs even now.
I have a feeling, Raquel, we can use these same techniques to reparent ourselves a little.
Oh,
yes.
You were asking me before how to use the tapping and if you can use it on yourself and everything. You can use it on yourself. You have to learn it first, obviously.
Okay.
For deeper issues, for trauma, for things that are there somewhere hidden safely right now because they're too much to handle, you definitely need a certified person to work with. Just with any emotional work, you want to be very careful who you choose, and you want a certified EFT or tapping practitioner, and they can help you tremendously.
So there's hope for all of us. Right? It doesn't matter how old we are or our kids are or our parents are. We can all heal our trauma. And that was going to be one of my questions for you, was can intergenerational trauma be healed? And it sounds like you're saying that it can be.
The beauty of genetics, the science of genetics, tells you that it's just a chemical reaction. You can express genes and then not express them or stop expressing them. And it's just about methylation and ethylation. It's just seriously a chemical reaction. It's not like written in stone. So when you start recalling some of the traumatic events, and you activate those genes again, you activate those neurons, but you tell the body at the same time with the tapping and working with it that it's okay now, then the brain just slowly lets go of the things it's been holding to. It like releases you from those, painful moments, and you can move on.
Can you do that with trauma that was from your parents that you don't understand? Like, let's say my mom had some trauma, but I don't know what it is, and she can no longer tell me that. Can I do that tapping to release a trauma I don't even know about?
So
good question.
So you start with whatever's happening for you. So let's say you just said that I want to release something that my mom was through. I would ask, what is going on for you right now?
All right, let me think. What's going on for me? I have a lot of grief about my mom.
Right. So we would start there, and then through there, we would make it to whatever it's under that grief.
I don't know what's under the grief.
You want to pause for a little bit, or if you want to do it we can do like a quick, 15-minute thing if you want to.
Let's do it. You want to do it, Raquel?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
So,
okay.
I'll just show you quickly. You're going to start tapping here, and we're going to say, even though I feel this grief, I accept myself. And then we're going to go, just follow me where I'm tapping. And you can see for your listeners that we are tapping inside of the eyes, outside the eyes, under nose, and on the chin. And we are just doing a little bit of like a quick demo. So Jennifer, back to you. You said you feeling grief. Yes. Where do you feel it in your body?
I feel like I feel it all over, but mostly like in my stomach.
In your stomach. So we're gonna start, very simple. Just tap on the karate. It's called the karate chop point. Let's tap there. If you're listening, you can tap along and think about something that's bothering yourself. Just bring the issue to your mind. Think about it. Think how intense it is. Let's say 0 to 10. So you just have a little bit of a reference point. And then also think if that has where it sits in your body. Jennifer's going to say, even though, you can repeat after me, even though I feel this grief.
Even though I feel this grief.
And it sits in my stomach.
And it sits in my stomach and all over my body.
And all over my body. And this grief about my mom.
This grief about my mom.
I accept myself.
I accept myself. That makes me want to cry.
Side of the eyes, and feel free to cry. This grief. Outside of the eyes, this grief about my mom.
This grief about my mom.
Under eyes, all over my body.
All over my body.
Under nose, this grief.
This grief.
Chin, this grief.
This grief.
In my stomach.
In my stomach.
About my mom.
About my mom.
Makes me want to cry.
Makes me want to cry.
This grief.
This grief.
This grief in all my body.
This grief in all my body.
Okay, take a deep breath. Check in with the grief and see if it has shifted to different emotion or different body position.
This might sound weird, but I'll just go with it.
Nothing's weird here. Go ahead.
It just wants to go so that it can be filled with peace.
Okay. So when you think about that emotion right now,
it's just like really tender sadness.
Okay. Even though I feel this tender sadness.
Even though I feel this tender sadness.
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
We can tap this tender sadness. Does the sadness have color for you?
Blue.
Okay, this blue tender sadness.
This blue tender sadness.
Under eyes, this blue tender sadness.
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 Take a deep breath. And Raquel, as we are tapping, you can tap as well on your thing.
Okay.
You can just
Okay.
tap too.
Okay.
Jennifer,
will.
how are you feeling now? Where do you feel it?
Weirdly enough, I feel it in my shoulders. I think I feel guilty for feeling sad.
Okay. Amazing. Sorry, I love that. So
I don't know why, but I think I feel guilty for it.
good.
Like
Even
I'm
though
not
I feel
supposed to.
guilty, I'm not supposed to feel guilty. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to feel sad.
I'm not supposed to feel sad.
I still accept myself.
I still accept myself.
And even though I feel sad,
And even though I feel sad,
not supposed to feel sad,
I'm not supposed to feel sad.
not allowed to feel sad.
I'm not allowed to feel sad. Oh, I feel sad.
I don't permit myself to be sad.
I don't permit myself to be sad.
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
Okay, this lack of permission.
This lack of permission.
I can be sad.
I can be sad.
I feel guilty. I feel sad.
I feel guilty. I feel sad.
This guilt.
This guilt.
This guilt.
This guilt.
Okay, take a deep breath. Now, check in with that guilt and tell me what's the first thing that comes to your mind. It can be something that you felt, something that happened, something you remember. You don't have to share, or you can share it here if you have the moment in front of you. We can work with both.
Yeah, so it goes back to this memory I have.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you. We're going to work with it right now. You don't have to tell me. The memory, can you go after it's everything happened, after it's finished?
Okay.
Okay, do you see yourself there?
Yes.
When you were you younger?
Yeah, very young, like
Okay,
4 or 5.
perfect. Can you tell how was the little one called when you were that young?
Jenny.
Okay, can you tell Jenny you're there to help her?
Yes.
Is she okay with you there?
Oh yeah, she likes me.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So put everything else on pause and ask Jenny how she feels.
She feels sad and abandoned.
Okay, so tap on yourself, but imagine you're tapping on her fingers, or you can imagine you're tapping on her head. It's okay. And just say, even though you feel sad and abandoned,
Even though you feel sad and abandoned,
you are a great kid.
you're a great kid.
And I am here to help you.
And I'm here to help you.
Because you're worth it.
Because you're worth it.
And you deserve it.
And you deserve it.
Okay, tap on her. Imagine you're tapping on her. Just say this sadness.
This sadness.
Under eyes, this sadness.
This sadness.
Under nose, this abandonment.
This abandonment.
On the chin, this abandonment.
This abandonment.
Okay, take a deep breath with Jenny. How is she feeling?
Yeah, you made me cry.
No, that's not me. It's Jenny. Jenny's asking for help from you, and you are giving it to her right now. How is Jenny feeling now?
I think she feels not so abandoned.
Okay, so what's the feeling? A little bit of sadness, or a little bit scared, or
like safe.
she feels safe? What is a story? What is something that she picked up, a belief, or some writing on her wall from that event about herself, about her value? What is it?
Just stay quiet.
Stay quiet. Is it true for you now?
No.
Right? Can you show
No.
Jenny how things changed, what you've been through, how Jenny lived her life, how she changed that belief? Can you show her right there? Just have a moment together.
Wow, this is very powerful.
How does Jenny feel right now?
Integrated.
Integrated. Now we're gonna use something that we talked about the whole podcast. We're gonna ask Jenny what she needs right now. Does she need anybody to be with her? Does she need anything to change? She's the director of that situation. She can have anything, anybody, be healed, happen, understood. Who does she want to talk to? You know, I usually have someone coming in and talking to my mother and parenting her and explaining her what's happening. So would Jenny want to have something like that happen to her?
I guess I don't really understand the question completely.
Can I clarify, or do you want me to clarify?
Yeah.
So something happened, and maybe, you know, how does she feel about proceeding further? Does she need someone, like, was it with her parents? Does she want to see her parents getting help, or does she want to experience seeing someone understanding something so things can be different? Like, what would she want to experience?
Yeah, it was definitely with her mother. I still don't know exactly what she needs, but there's definitely like some acknowledgement from her mother.
Okay. Do you think you can have that happen for her? Do you think her mom could get, so now think about it, her mom is in this portion, her mom is at the highest possible spiritual, emotional,
Then yes.
capability. This is very, you know, special moment. So
Yes.
go back and see this happening for Jenny.
Okay. Okay.
How does she feel now?
She feels integrated, but still like nervous that it's good, but not fully trusting it.
So what would make her fully trusted?
I don't know. I don't know.
So go wild and connect with her, connect with yourself, and see what she would want to hear or see or feel or have. Maybe it's, you know, a reminder or a little talisman, toy, event, something to experience with her mom.
I think she needs a tattoo.
She needs a tattoo. Super.
I think so.
What is she getting?
I don't know the answer to that. Something like maybe her mother's handwriting, something.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't know.
like a little sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to now ask her where she would want to be, like at the happiest spot ever, where she used to go or she wanted to go. We are gonna just imprint the happy memory now. So where would you guys want to go?
Canoeing with my mom.
Canoeing with your okay. So you're going canoeing. Just see her face. How does she look?
Happy and relaxed.
Can you smell the air, the water? Can you see everything in vivid colors?
Yeah.
What is the most vivid feeling, color, vibe that you are sensing? Is it sun yellow or blue sky, green water, or just safety? What's speaking to you right now?
Like ripply water and my hand in it, and it's cold.
Cold. Okay. Does it have a color? Something in the scene?
It's not really blue, but it's like gray blue.
Okay. So I'm just gonna stick with blue. Put your hand on your heart and tap right in between, like, if you can just right here. Just like that. Just gently tap and put your hand on the heart. I think you can see it here.
Oh, like this.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Close your eyes and just tap in that spot. I'm just gonna guide you through a quick process to imprint this memory. So I want you to see that blue. And I want you to see how that blue grows from that one spot, from that one memory, from that peaceful, relaxed moment to all the moments that need this energy in your life. To all the people in your surroundings that would really need that energy. Bring them all in and see how it grows towards them. See that energy in all your interactions with yourself, with your children, with the world. And invite all the future moments that will really benefit from this blue, peaceful energy. And then see how that spreads around your area, around your house, around your city, around your country, and the world. and all the way to the space. It's this huge beam of blue piece, and then it's coming back to you right on top of your head, and it's slowly starting to changing all of your neural biological connections in your brain, and it's slowly flowing through your blood vessels, through every cell membrane in your body, relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your tummy all the way to your toes, and then back to your heart. And through the heart, when you're ready, just see that energy connecting with yourself and with the world. And when you show us a big exhale, I don't know, you're done. Just take your time. Deep breath.
Look at your face, Raquel.
Raquel, how are you?
Holy crap, I've been crying the whole time. That was so powerful. Klara, thank you so much for doing that. And Jennifer, thank you for letting everybody experience that with you. Oh my God, just watching you come through that, Jennifer, and go through that whole process. But the part where you guys were talking about, I am not allowed to feel, I am not allowed to feel, fill in the blank. And it just made me think about an experience when I was little, and it happened multiple times. And again, my mom was doing the best that she could. She was doing what she thought was right. My mom was not trying to harm me in any way. My mom loves me. I get it. But when I was little and I would be crying and throwing a tantrum, sometimes my mom would put me in front of the mirror when I was like crying and having a fit. And she would say, look at you. Look at how ugly you're being right now. Look at how ugly you look right now. Don't do that. To get me to stop crying. Like, it's not like she was trying to tell me that I was ugly. I mean, my mom thinks I'm beautiful. That had an effect on me because I wasn't allowed to feel that negative emotion. I wasn't allowed to express that negative emotion. Being here and watching you, Jennifer, go through this and experience just that few minutes of it helped me understand, and Klara, what you're talking about helped me understand that the issues that I have with, my looks and, expressing negative emotion and feeling big emotions and all that, it's not any downfall of mine. It's from what my mom learned and what she thought was the right thing to do. And that came from what, her mom may have taught her, and from whatever trauma my great grandma may have felt. It didn't start with us, but we can fix it. The way that, Jennifer, you went to little Jenny and started to make her feel safe. We can do this for ourselves. Oh man, Klara, you're good at what you do.
I get out of bed just for this feeling when I see that the face, that content piece on your face after the process is just a gift to the world that we can help each other. And Raquel, you were saying, you were so apologetic about having feelings because your mom did something to you when you were little that did not sit with you. And it's okay to talk about it. You're not gonna hurt your mom. This is about that little Raquel that had her needs, and you are helping Raquel to voice them now. And this is not against your mom. This is going hand in hand with her so you guys can rebuild your relationship on mutual and better understanding. You have my permission and everybody else's permission to go back to little Raquel and, listen to her needs.
Thank you.
Our parents, it's their journey to deal with their own thing, and it's our journey to deal with their own thing. And it's not our job to take care of our parents' emotional world. Everybody has their own burden, and we cannot carry multiple burdens. We have enough of our own.
Very good point. Thank you. Klara, you are amazing, and you are so good at what you do. You definitely helped me and Jennifer today.
Well, it's, all of us helping each other do what we do. We give each other opportunities to help each other.
Was there anything that you wanted to say that you didn't feel like you got a chance to say?
No, I think we really covered a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
I thought we were gonna talk about like the comparison of Czech Republic and America, like when it comes to women, but you know how things are. Things just
Yeah.
always are the way they are supposed to be. So I'm glad we got to work together. That was amazing.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much,
And
Klara.
if you guys want, you know, I spend my time with toddlers, and you know that it's more geared towards younger moms, like the programs, but for special people like you, I still run like individual sessions. So if you guys feel like, whoa, we, you know, came across something, I want to look into something, well, let me know. We can set up some time for you. You can get your own
That would be
some
fantastic.
healing done. So this is
Wonderful.
we actually jumped in with, when we did the Jenny work, we jumped into matrix re-imprinting there, which is another, I use tapping and matrix, but you know, people don't know what that is. That's okay. But we did a little bit of a different modality there. It has like morphed my life into something much more peaceful, because I don't know what it does really. Like scientifically, I cannot tell you, but it's been used with like the veterans and you know, severe PTSD cases, and it's just marvelous tool. I'm
I
so
don't know if
glad
Raquel
we
is
got a
gonna
chance,
recover.
and I don't know, I can't get enough of it. It was so cool. Yeah, I didn't expect this either, you know. So for me, I'm so happy that it happened, and you guys had a.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like Jennifer, I didn't want to like cut you off when you were gonna go in your story, but what happens so often in therapy is that we just tell stories and then we cry and that's it, you know. But here I wanted people to know that no matter how terrible story that is, you don't have to retell it. You can just have a safe process and gentle way of addressing it, and you don't have to re-traumatize yourself again.
My story wasn't particularly traumatizing. It was actually a really kind of an innocent thing that happened, but it did leave an imprint on me.
Right.
I've had some bigger traumas. I could imagine if I was trying to work on that or talk about it with a therapist, maybe talking about it isn't the greatest thing.
Mm-hmm.
That your process is more about allowing the space to work with yourself in a way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was really interesting process. I would definitely recommend anyone who's wanting to see some change in the way that they're responding to themselves or others to try it.
What I had recently, like my grandparents went through the civil war in Greece, and then they left and they couldn't come back for 30 years, and they pretty much died in, you know, they died in away from their country where they were born. They never came back. And what I had going on is that during the process that we did with Jenny, like the matrix during the last piece, I had all my family along with my mom being in Greece and watching the countryside, the war-torn countryside, to environmentally heal. Environmental remediation, like see the scars after bombs growing with plants. And it was such a out of nowhere experience. You would never even guess that that's something that you would want to feel. In my mind, what I needed was to see some type of a closure and healing. And the environmental healing was something like showing me the healing of the heart, you know. But so it's a very intuitive, and I feel like you are in the driver's seat. Like I'm not a therapist there to steer you in any way. It's all you. I thank you both for, you know, being so present and so ready to jump in and give us a chance to help each other move forward again. That was wonderful.
All I can say is this was truly amazing and far more than I expected that we were going to feel today. I think it just goes to show that there are multiple ways that people can get to their healing.
What I really love best about Klara is that she talks about all of us having a peace and coming together, each of us contributing what we can contribute to heal the whole. And now she made that a visual for me with her relatives and the regeneration of the land after war and the flowers
Yes.
growing again and the trees growing again. And maybe somehow we do that with this planet that is suffering.
Scarred.
Maybe all of the work that we are all doing can regenerate.
I love it. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.